Nachi free.
Morning Joe is officially one of my heroes. And considering he's a guitar player, he now sits among the pantheon of guitar heroes in my head. Right up there with Eddie Van Halen, Slash, Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, and of course his own namesake, Joe Walsh. And here's why he's one of my heroes.
26 past the hour, Hillary Clinton was interrupted by two Black Lives Matter activists at a private fundraising event in South Carolina last night. The Huffington Post got this video of the incident. In it, you can see a youth activist named Ashley Williams walking in front of Clinton as she addresses the audience. She's holding a sign quoting comments that Clinton made as First Lady back in 1996 about her husband's crime bill and the at-risk youth it was targeting. Here are some of those comments from 1996, followed by the incident last night in South Carolina.
But we also have to have an organized effort against gangs, just as in a previous generation we had an organized effort against the mob. We need to take these people on. They are often connected to big drug cartels. They are not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel. And the president has asked the FBI to launch a very concerted effort against gangs everywhere.
She was being protested last night for saying 20 years ago, and I'm shocked and I'm horrified that she would say this. We have to bring drug cartels to heel. That's bad?
Well,
No, wait, hold on. We have to bring drug gangs and cartels to heel? Who in America thinks that is a bad thing? I am telling you, for every incident of where people say the right have lost their mind, I can give you 5 of how the left over the last year have lost their mind, out of their gourds. If Hillary Clinton is being attacked for saying, Willie, 19 years ago, we need to bring drug cartels and drug gangs to heel. You can support criminal justice reform, as I do. You can say there are two Americas when it comes to incarceration and how young black men especially are treated horrifically compared to young white men. But come on. They're digging deep for this. This is outrageous.
Outrage, outrage, outrage. I love outrage. Finally, somebody on a leftist, limousine liberal mainstream news outlet like MSNBC speaks up about the utterly divisive and destructive tactics of Black Lives Matter. And I wholeheartedly agree, Black lives do matter. Which is why it's time people in the media stop encouraging criminality by making excuses for it. Because neither poverty nor racism are an excuse for criminal behavior, let alone resisting arrest and putting your own life at risk. More black lives are going to be lost thanks to this race-baiting, conspiratorial victimhood narrative that we're all supposed to kowtow to. And yes, there is no denying there is still racism in this country. And there is clearly a problem with police brutality. I should know. Because when I was younger, I tried my hand at a life of crime too. However, I was a petty criminal, like shoplifting and selling a little weed and coke. I never graduated to stealing cars and home invasions or mugging people on the street like some of my buddies did. You see, I grew up in a neighborhood where if you weren't arrested by the time you were 18, you were considered gay. What's wrong with you, bro? You haven't been arrested yet? Were you some kind of faggot? That's not a homophobic joke. It's a sad fact. And as a straight A student at a Catholic private school, I got tired of being called a faggot in my neighborhood. So I started to do stupid shit just to keep up with my friends. That's why I know that a lot of the crime being committed out there isn't simply because of poverty or mental illness or lack of education or any other nuanced socioeconomic paradigms that you morally preening Poindexters conjure up. Some people are just fucking assholes, and that's why they gladly commit crime. And I know what it's like to have a police officer pull a gun on my face, have another one throw my wallet back at my face, be yelled at, cursed at, belittled, and all around roughed up by cops. I've seen a police officer break one of my friend's arms in half. Though in the police officer's defense, my friend did punch the cop in the face. I also know of someone who was white, and died from having a blood clot after having his thighs cuffed while in custody, and another person who's also white and is currently suffering terminal brain injury from getting his head stomped in by cops. And these are not news statistics or just news stories. These are real people. So for anyone thinking you have no say in this, all right, you white racist cracker, shut up or I'll kill you. First of all, I'm not white. I thought I was, but the last couple of forms I had to fill out, I was told to check off Hispanic instead. I was like, really? I thought that was just for like illegal immigrants working below the minimum wage. Granted, I wasn't born in this country either, and my family's Cuban, but I'm a tax-paying citizen who can actually vote, and I consider myself American, period. And they were like, no, you're Hispanic. Okay, you're olive-skinned. And I was like, I'm not green. I might be a little mocha with a dash of cinnamon, but fuck it, okay, I guess I'm no longer white. Good, now I can pull out the Latino card like Ricky Ricardo whenever it's convenient to play the victim role for whatever cause that exploits people's emotions. Thanks. Which is why in my humblissimo opinion, look, there's a little Spanglish for you. This whole narrative being presented by groups like Black Lives Matter is so dangerous and toxic to our society and is creating more problems than solutions. Just follow their money trail and see where it leads you. According to their own website, they're proud to be shutting down police stations. And trust me, you don't want to live in a society without cops. Because most of you, especially those of you who aren't black, but your white guilt is driving you to side with these organizations and say, fuck the pigs. You pussies would piss your pants if you found yourself living in a society without police officers. And among some of the guys I tried hanging with that would have beaten and stabbed you without a second thought. But that's when I was young, dumb, and full of cum throughout my 20s. It's funny how after my 30s, when I got my shit together, including a job I wasn't too proud of, but I said, fuck it, let me bite the bullet and hold this one down. My run-ins with the cops became a thing of the past. And that's the thing. Arguing and let alone fighting back with police officers is always a losing battle. It doesn't matter what an asshole the cop is or what your civil rights are. Just zip it. Especially if you got caught committing a crime. As a matter of fact, there were a few petty crimes I got away with because I kept my mouth shut. And by no means am I encouraging people to commit crimes. Hells no. Trust me, it's a numbers game and you will get caught sooner or later. And don't forget, for every racist asshole cop, there are dozens of more decent police officers who truly care about making their communities a safer place, some of whom are family and friends. That's why I don't believe the headlines of another unarmed black man was killed by police officers is the full story or simply about race. To say that there's a concerted effort nowadays to eliminate black men from society, that's a conspiracy theory that's leading to this kind of misguided sentiment among young kids who are being encouraged to get smart with cops who are already on the edge on a daily basis and thus endangering more black lives and young lives, period. By the way, if actual black lives do matter to organizations like Black Lives Matter, who take such offense to words like super predators, why don't I ever hear a peep about black teenage girls being forced into a life of prostitution by the ultimate predators in society known as pimps, who you could argue are murderers, rapists, and child molesters all rolled into one? And I'm not talking about these colorful caricatures that are glorified on one rap song after another, some of which I love. My favorite one is Big Pimpin' by Jay-Z. Yeah, despite the fact that he wore a Che Guevara t-shirt at one point, which I hope he's burned by now. The beat on that song is absolutely hypnotic. No, I'm talking about these pimps, the real ones. The ones that beat down and terrorize 15 and 16-year-old girls and some that are even younger. Is BLM cracking down on them? I hope so. That's why I'm a big proponent of legalizing prostitution. Yeah, I know it's counterintuitive. But just like the prohibition of alcohol led to the rise of gangsters like Al Capone and the terror they struck in cities like Chicago, ironic considering what's going on there nowadays, their downfall was due to the legalization of alcohol. And that same dynamic would apply to prostitution and drugs, which is why I wear shirts like these. Yeah. So thank you, Morning Joe, for giving a masked marauding coward like me on YouTube the courage to finally speak up right behind you. But you first, okay? You go first and me iPad. And by the way, there are plenty of other YouTubers who are not faceless cowards like me, especially black YouTubers who have been speaking out against Black Lives Matter for quite some time. People who are being called Uncle Toms and traitors to their own race. Can we please stop with the race mongering? Because scientifically speaking, we're all one single species. And sure, we're all tribal and territorial by nature, which is why any messages or methods that try to tear us apart even further need to be called out. If I'm wrong on anything I've said in this video, please feel free to set my Latino ass straight in the comments down below. But please no death threats, okay? Or twittering out my address. After all, that would prove my point, my humblissimo opinion about the divisiveness and destructiveness that's being propagated by Black Lives Matter. Thanks for watching.
Homegrown